terrible Wisconsin horror movie.
Well, it depends on your definition of terrible. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoiler Room. Yes, folks, it is another Over the Hill episode where we are looking at a film that's, like myself, turning 50 this year. And we have one that is so in Mark's wheelhouse. It's crazy. Low budget creature feature, shot and made in Wisconsin, near and dear to my heart, my home state. We are tonight looking at 1975's The Giant Spider Invasion. And I'm so excited to talk about this. And who's in the spoiler room to join us? Well, none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joe Randazzo. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, everyone.
I can't think of a more appropriate person to talk about a independent micro budget creature feature in the Midwest than with you, sir. So glad you could make it tonight.
Ian, you are so lucky because this is one of those movies you can smell.
So thank you, and thank you folks out there for joining us, venturing down the stairs and popping your favorite drink. Yes, I'm actually drinking Wisconsin Bleed tonight, appropriately enough. So yeah, even more Wisconsin going on. But you know, I'm maybe a little too close to this film. So Joe,
I knew you were going to call on me out of everybody tonight.
Out of everybody else here, they were just too afraid. They were too afraid to tackle this. So could you try to give the synopsis?
I'll tell you who wasn't afraid. That one sheriff's deputy that kept running up trying to hit the spider at the end.
Yes, I loved him.
So a meteor, some kind, smacks into the middle of Wisconsin, releasing all these little rocks. They happen to land in the backyard of possibly the grungiest fucker in the country. Like, this guy takes off his overalls. He's got fucking swamp ass. You could see the stains on the back of his fucking what do you call it? Pajama? I guess it's just like it's like a onesie pajama.
Yeah.
Just disgusting. Like, why? Why was that an artistic choice, or was the guy just sweating through it? You will never know. But if you look around that house, dear God, everything in this guy's house looked like it was rotting away. It looked like when you like find a body that's been like decomposing somewhere for like months and nobody cleaned anything. At one point I texted our group chat. I was like, dear God, the stains in this movie.
There's some stains. There's absolutely stains.
But yeah, this guy nearly takes off his hand trying to crack one of these rocks open. At one point he's trying to cut it with what was
a hacksaw.
Yeah,
he was trying to cut it with a hacksaw.
His hand slips and he just throws the hacksaw down, tells his wife to get a hammer. She goes to another room, comes back with a hammer. He goes, no, the bigger hammer. I'm like, we're gonna have to watch this whole thing, aren't we? We're gonna have to watch this whole process while he sits there waiting for another hammer.
I love the response though. He goes the bigger hammer and she just brings the whole toolbox and goes, bump. Here, you get
God, because he could have said it could have been 90 minutes of her going back and forth looking for a bigger hammer.
It could have.
Because this movie, if there's one thing about this movie, it was trying to waste time. It was trying to stretch as much as it can to get to that 85-minute mark. So yeah, he gets a hammer and chisel and he nearly whacks his hand a couple of times. He completely whiffs one time and I could have sworn he was going to break his hand off. But unfortunately for us, because that probably would have been a much more interesting movie, he didn't do that. The thing slips off, cracks, and a spider crawls out of it. A tiny little spider was living inside of it. He doesn't see that. Nobody ever sees these spiders around anywhere.
They're sneaky. They're alien spiders.
They're writing what somebody's eye line would be, but they somehow don't see it. It's amazing. But he finds this little handful of diamonds, and sure enough, the wife goes, "Hey,
we lost you. We totally just lost Joe. Hopefully,
he'll right taste it.
We lost you just for a second.
I'm back.
You're back.
You lost me for a second there. So yeah, there's these spiders that are living in these little meteorites that have like diamonds in them. And unless I missed it, we don't find out where they came from or anything. But there are 2 NASA scientists on the case.
There are.
And them intersecting with the movie proper barely ever happens. Just like Alan Hale Jr. leaving that office, little buddy. It happens, I think, once.
Well, yeah, because he leaves the office and he goes to the cafe/bar.
Oh, okay, so twice, because he also goes to the house of our grungy redneck,
right? Yeah,
who has a still attractive alcoholic wife.
An extremely alcoholic wife.
Alcoholic wife. But he's more interested in her daughter. And at one point, wait, her daughter or her sister?
It's her sister.
It's her sister. Terry's her sister.
Yes.
Because he tells her, I should have married you instead of her. And she goes, well, I was only 11 at the time. And he looks her up and down, goes, well, you ain't 11 now. Oh. Oh, God.
That just makes his death. Yes, spoiler room, folks. That just makes his death all the more satisfying.
And he's the first one to. Well, wait, no, he's not the first one to go.
No.
He's the first one when the spider becomes gigantic.
He's the first main speaking character that gets it.
Yeah, because you got the guy on the motorcycle. I didn't catch his name, but his mom calls the sheriff's office. Who apparently the sheriff's office also doubles for information.
It does. A small town. Don't you know? A small town, a sheriff's office has...
you need your car serviced? I suggest you call this place. They open at 8 a.m. Oh, you need this? I suggest you call this place. Like, what do you do exactly?
Oh, I loved it. It's such a small town vibe.
The first line out of his mouth was somebody walks into his office and he goes, hey, little buddy, we need to remind you that this is the skipper.
Oh, I love that. I love the fact they got Alan Hale Jr. in this film just for the sheriff shots. I think because I watched this. I went to a live showing of this at the Wyowega Opera House for the 50th. That's where I got this wonderful signed Blu-ray. Yeah, special edition.
It's got to be pushing 90 at this point.
It's got. I mean, he was there. He signed it along with I think it was his wife signed it or his daughter. Anyway, this Blu-ray's got all kinds of crap on it. And I also framed the ticket and the brochure that was there as well.
Nice.
He signed the ticket as well.
That's better than anything we got in this movie.
But I love this.
But the movie's still fun. The movie is still fun in its ineptitude.
Yes, it's fun for what they were trying to make, especially in 75, because you're right. I mean, things just escalate quickly. These spiders
I don't agree they escalate quickly.
Well, the spiders grow quickly. It's like we've only seen small spiders, and all of a sudden there's a huge spider. There's just this gigantic spider. And you've got the spider stuff going on, and you've got our scientists trying to figure out what's going on. And they kind of come together near the end, and it involves something involving a temporal shift and energy with a rift open for creatures to come through. It just, It doesn't explain how they're in the rocks, though. Well, those I gathered were like spider eggs, because you had the bigger spider. So I think the couple of spiders grew big, and then those other rocks were eggs of the spider. And our grungy guy, for whatever reason, he doesn't believe in spiders, because his wife is telling him early on that she saw a spider. He's like, oh yeah, keep hitting the bottle, because it's so impossible that a spider might be somewhere in the fucking in rural Wisconsin. There might be a spider somewhere. Oh, you're definitely hitting the bottle again. He was, and see, that's what I love the characters in this, just because they're like, he's the most extreme redneck of rednecks like ever. It's like the family whose farmland this meteor lands on is like so textbook redneck. It's like from the younger sister, who is unfortunately slimily leered at by many.
Every man in this movie.
to her extremely alcoholic sister, who's not only is hitting on her younger sister's boyfriend while she's getting ready, but she blows through all the alcohol in her house and calls a guy up to bring more and says, "I'll make it worth your while if you bring me some booze."
While her husband's off cheating while claiming to be at the local revival tent.
Which we've got a priest talking at the revival.
Oh, yeah. One of those fire and brimstone creatures.
Fire and brimstone, which there's some great dialogue in there too. See, that's why I just love this movie, because there's some great dialogue in there too about because Alan Hale's sheriff, he picks up the phone and he's like, "Oh, disturbing the peace? We can arrest someone for that. Sure, we can." And he's like, "Oh, but not a preacher." A preacher, because someone called about disturbing the peace from the revival.
He's so loud
because he's so loud
in this little tent.
And later on, there's some dialogue about the preacher being loud too. They make a quip about. But so you've got all these elements going on, and then you get the spider, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got big spider, like huge, like this thing is massive. They built one. I think he said at the Q&A we were at, they only built one because they only had it in the budget for like the big one. And they used it everywhere. But suddenly there's
supposed to be like 3 or 4.
Right.
Yeah, so we just have. It looks like they made little modifications to it here and there, so that it looked a little bit different. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Which, kudos to you for doing that.
And that spider. I mean, for the film and the budget and what they're making here, it's actually an impressive creature. The size that they have. I mean, and it's full practical. There is absolutely no like actual effects in here. It is all pretty.
It's all in camera. The scene where the spider shows up at the Wisconsin fair, and there's it's coming around the bend, and everybody like runs from the bleachers. Unintentionally hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Damn lucky that they didn't run some of those kids over. But I mean, I guess it's supposed to be a giant spider, so they didn't move the car too fast,
right?
Because it's what did he say it was built around?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was built off of the body of a BW Bug. Not 100% on that. I'm trying to remember, but there were so many facts being dropped. Yeah, the giant spiders were Volkswagen Beetles covered in fake black fur with leg operators manipulating the limbs from inside the car. The vehicle was driven in reverse with its taillights acting as the creature's eyes.
That's great.
And talk about innovate. This is why I love this film. It's just like these guys are shooting this on a shoestring budget.
That's the thing. That's why I'll always respect a movie like this over the last King Kong versus Godzilla, where everything was CGI, everything was dead, all the creatures were dead-eyed, and I couldn't give a rat's ass. But this, where a guy fucking put fur on a Volkswagen Beetle and drove it in reverse. Yes, give me this. I will take 100 of these any day over that shit.
Well, because you get the one shot, because they do that, and that's why it explains why the shots in like the farm field and that of the spider are a little bit different, because later on one of the giant spiders makes it into town. And you can tell there that that's where you can really tell it's a car with spider legs, where they're taking on a mob, because the mob decides to take it into their own hands to go after the spider.
And even though the mob is stock footage.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. But, they go to the revival that's going on, and they're like, oh, here comes this. We got to go take care of this sinful spider. And they go out there, and they're taking on spiders. And then it gets dark. The spider, we actually see some carnage from the spider. There's like bodies, and
it's eating people. You can see like the legs like kind of pushing the human into the spider's mouth.
Well, especially at the end. At the end, when Lester gets it, he gets fully eaten on camera. They stuff him into spider.
Our grungy redneck gets eaten fully on camera too, and that was satisfying. I feel like I don't know. You saw it with a live crowd. Did people cheer for that?
Oh yeah. People loved that scene. They dug that scene very much so. With him getting eaten, and then later on, the deputy, who's the bravest guy in all of the entire town. This guy,
he basically does what Superman, what gangsters used to do with Superman in the 50s: shoot, nothing's happening, throw the gun, then go try to punch it.
I love that. Well, you get that earlier. The boyfriend goes out to the house after the giant spider lays waste to the house of Kester and Eve in that, because it's his girlfriend out there, and so he goes to try to save her, and their house is just demolished. And I love how he drives up. He doesn't hesitate. He just drives up, pulls the rifle out of his car, and just starts shooting at the spider.
It's actually kind of funny because last week I mentioned that the first movie on the last drive-in was going to fit in with our theme. The movie was Earth versus the Spider. And that scene where he comes up and the spider's attacking the house reminds you of the scene where the spider's doing that in Earth versus the Spider, where it's attacking the main character's girlfriend's house. Well, and, you got the spider leg coming through the window and everything. And
you get your King Kong moment, literally, to where the sister's in the house and it's full of cobwebs because all the alien spiders now have kind of taken over the house, and she's just scared because there's spiders everywhere and webs. And then she gets near a window and she has her back to the window, and this big furry leg, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. This big furry leg crashes through the window and grabs her, kind of a la King Kong, and she screams. And when she drops down, you realize it raked across her eyes, and they got blood on her eyes. And yeah, it's cheesy, low bud, but at the same time, you're like,
it also goes through like the walls and the cabinets too, like other spider legs. So. Done more efficiently, it could have been terrifying. The thought of it is terrifying, but this is a Bill Urbane movie, baby. We don't do things efficiently here. We
make the most out of very little, and
the cheesiest way possible.
Oh yeah, the cheesiest way possible. But and Alan Hale Jr. is not the only name that you have in here. You have Barbara Hale in here as the doctor. And she also gets a great scene for 75. That's the thing is, if you look at the script and some of the dialogue in here, it's actually really fun and written fun, because we get our Dr. Vance, played by Steve Brody, who is from NASA, and he goes and talks to this observatory scientist, Dr. Jenny Langer, and he goes out there and he's like, "Oh, I'm here to meet Professor Langer. Is your husband here?" And she's like, "No, I don't have a husband." He's like, "Oh, your father then?" And she's like, "No, he's been dead since 59. "Oh, your brother then?" And she knows where this is going, and she just lets him go. And she's like, "No, I loved that. My brother's an interior designer in Oshkosh."
Barbara Hale, she was Della Street, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she was Della Street and Perry Mason.
Yeah.
Man, it would have been great if they could have gotten Raymond Burr in this too.
Oh my God, Raymond Burr in this would have been so much fun. That would have been a lot of fun. But yeah, she was in Perry Mason. That's what a big chunk of her career was. But so she here she is getting a chance to be in a movie, doing something other than TV. So mad props to her. She was also in Airport. But yeah, so she's having fun actually playing a scientist that you have a guy who doesn't believe she's the scientist. And I just loved that scene of how she did. I'm like, this acting and her, like, especially the way she was acting, I'm like, that's almost too good for this movie. Because she's one of the more experienced actresses in here.
I mean, this movie has ideas. It's just execution that is where it's lacking. And that could be just because of budget.
And a lot of it was because of budget. There's stuff that they wanted to do that they just couldn't, because he didn't have the money. But you're in on this film, you're in making it and they want to do some stuff and you end up running into budget limits.
Yeah, the first like 30 to 45 minutes of this movie are kind of dull, but man, once those giant spiders show up, this becomes the schlock you're promised.
You've got to get through the first act, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you get through that first act almost at the exact 30 minutes, boom, all of a sudden when them spiders get big real quick, it's like, it's borrowing from the Blob with the whole meteor.
Well, it's borrowing from a lot. It's a lot more than the Blob.
One of the things I really loved about this film was the Kester, our slimy redneck. When they're going out to investigate this asteroid that fell, because the night it fell, it knocked out the car completely, the electronics on the car of the boyfriend of the sister, and Chester and his wife, they're outside arguing, and there's this wild effect because the meteor landed. So they go out the next morning and they find all of these mutilated cattle.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there and she goes, well, what are we going to do? We got to tell people. It's like, we don't have to tell people. I'll just process this.
We're going to round up the meat and sell it to the diner.
And she was like, I don't know. We don't know what killed him though. And he's like, that sounds like a cafe problem, not a my problem.
Yeah, they go out of their way to make this the most unlikable human being on the planet. Yeah, also like the meteorite hits in the middle of the night. They're like, we'll go check it out in the morning.
Which, I mean, hey,
the amazing thing to me in this movie is nobody notices anything until it's too late.
Well, yeah.
It's oh my god. Okay, the scene where cousin Billy.
Yeah.
Cousin Billy visits the house, and he also tries to hook up with Terry, and he's driving
the diamond expert. Yeah,
the diamond expert. Yeah, that guy's a diamond expert. He's driving away, and there's a small spider in the car, and he starts freaking out. But then he crashes into the web of that the giant spider made, which again makes me recall Earth versus the Spider, because that's how the young girl's father dies at the very beginning of the movie. So this spider web, this long spider web, decapitates him as he's driving. But yeah. And as he gets away from the giant spider, he starts freaking out so much over the little spider in the car that he manages somehow, and this takes some amazing talent, because there's no buildings anywhere.
No, none.
There is one building along this empty, vacant fucking prairie, and he manages to crash his car into that building and explode it.
Well, let's not forget, he crashes into it, but he doesn't get knocked out or whatnot. He gets out of the car and he smashes the window trying to escape, and just as he's about to escape, it explodes. And then what I love is there's a callback to it later on, because 2 scenes later, there's guys talking in the shop. Hey, did you hear about such and such? Yeah, he blew up in that building.
Was it at the bar?
Yeah, it's a bar.
Yeah, it was the bar. Not even the bartender's telling them. How does he know?
Well, it's a small town. People know. Come on now, man.
No, I don't know if the police have found it yet. But he's like, Did you hear about cousin Billy? The car, he crashed his car and it blew up. Like, wait, this just happened 10 seconds ago. How do you know this?
It's a small
also
town.
When Kester, is that the unlikable redneck?
Yeah.
When he goes out the second time, he finds the body of the kid on the dirt bike that got killed the night the meteorite crashed, and he buries the body
instantly. He doesn't hesitate.
And I'm like, dude, you literally had nothing to do with this. Clearly, when they look at this body, they'll know you had nothing to do. But he's like, oh, they'll come for those diamonds I found. Well, not if you don't fucking tell them.
Yeah. And when the cousin showed up, you get your one gratuitous nude scene in here with the sister as well. Was that in the cut you had?
I don't remember this actually.
Yeah, the scene where she confronts the cousin, because that's where the cousin shows up and he's hitting on her.
Oh wait, yeah, she comes out she comes out naked and
she comes up,
wrap herself up real quick.
Yeah. And that's where he's like, we could become kissing cousins. She's like, get the fuck out of here.
This fucking movie.
Because she's sitting there with the towel wrapped kind of around her and wearing pretty much
blood can or something like that.
Pretty much wearing next to nothing. And she pulls out one of the diamonds and asks him to identify it. He goes, oh, it's fake. And she's like, oh, you're lying. You didn't even look at it. And then he's like, fine, I'll give you like $20 for it. She's like, no. And she puts it back
in her panties. I do remember it now.
She puts it in her panties. And I'm like, what the hell? Oh, I love this. I adore this movie so much. Oh my god.
It is one of those movies again, second week in a row we were watching an infamously bad movie. It's a movie that I enjoy because it's so terrible.
Because it's so earnest. And that's the thing.
That's the thing that like I mentioned earlier with the King Kong versus Godzilla. There's a cynicism to these movies. They're slopped together with the idea of these fucking rubes will pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Rebane, say what you will about him, and Lord knows, man. I go back to a Joe Dante quote about Monster a Go-Go, where he says this movie is less entertaining than blank film.
Wow.
Say what you will about Bill Rebane. Bill Rebane, much like Ed Wood, much like a lot of those guys, he actually wanted to make a monster movie like the kind he would enjoy. It just didn't ever pan out.
Well,
although Blood Harvest, I think, comes close. I really, really do earnestly love Blood Harvest because I think that's actually a really good 80s slasher. I think Tiny Tim is creepy as fuck in it.
I'm glad that's been discovered again because that film is actually legit creepy. But I mean, Tiny Tim was creepy to begin with. But what's funny is this film was made for $300,000, and it same year as the year Jaws came out. This ended up being in the top 50 grossing films of 1975.
And it does reference Jaws,
reference Jaws.
Fuck you to Jaws. It's like, oh yeah, I think it's Alan Hale Jr. It was the deputy. He's like, oh, have you ever seen Jaws? This thing would makes that look like whatever,
like a minnow or something. Yeah,
it was like a minnow. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It makes Jaws look like a minnow.
Yeah,
that probably went in the trailer.
So yeah, I mean, you've got so much stuff in here and people just putting their all. And some of the scenes for what they're doing, like I said, not only does Kester get eaten, and he gets eaten on camera, and you watch as the legs are stuffing him into the mouth. We get the deputy that happens to him too, and he gets stuffed in, and there's blood, and you're looking at this going, there's some shots in here that you're like, they legit knew how to shoot it. You know, it's like some of them, yes, the wires are very obvious, but in some other shots, you're just like, no, that's pretty creepy. Like the spider, like when the one big spider, because the sister, she's in the house, that's when she gets attacked. She opens the drawer and the big spider pops out.
Which it looks like one of those Halloween decoration spiders that you'd get at like Walmart. Because I had a couple of those in my Christmas trees when I lived in my Christmas trees. And the trees in front of my house, when I lived in Brooklyn, my dad's house, we'd set it up and it would make like a little whirring sound. It would like shake the tree, and it looked like one of those. And I think we got a couple of those in this.
Yeah, I think so too. You get a couple of the puppets in here. You do have legit spiders in here.
Yeah.
That do show up and do some creepy crawly stuff. You know, you got character actors in here. Like you said, there's a scene on the street which surprised me for the film that it is. They actually shot on a street in a city, in a town. They actually shot a whole segment with the giant spider attacking people in the streets. The little league we mentioned in there. You just get so much fun stuff in here. And
it probably wasn't fun. That chicken that they were cooking looked very undercooked. It was very pink.
It was very pink. Well, what wasn't fun either was this was shot in the summer, and those cow parts that you have out there were real. Were they?
The cow head was definitely not. You could see that was the
majority of
or something.
The majority of the cow parts they got were from a slaughterhouse, a local slaughterhouse. They got parts.
It's probably like the Herschel Gordon Lewis sheep tongue thing, where getting the real sheep tongue to put in Connie Mason's mouth to have Mal Arnold pull it out was cheaper than getting a prop. So they just went to the butcher, got a real sheep tongue and stuffed it in her mouth so he could pull it out.
Apparently, too, with our giant spiders, which were made from the VW bug body, they only were going to have the spiders be like 10 feet, but with Jaws coming out, producers wanted bigger spiders. So they had to come up with it. The thing is, it's summer, and these guys crawling into the spider puppet to operate the legs again. Very little ventilation, so they're sweating balls. Doing the spider moves, and yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised they even went that far, because you couldn't really see the legs moving properly a lot of the times. I thought it was just the car backing up slowly and the legs just kind of, moving, like as it was bumping into stuff.
Well, I mean, as far as the size of the legs goes, it's no wonder that it was probably hard to manipulate them, because those things were they're huge freaking legs. But yeah, at the Q&A that Rebane talked about making this film and how he wanted to make a monster film, and that's what they set out to do. And he wished, he fully is aware of the limitations they had in the budget. It's not like he's thinking this film, he's happy with what they made, with what they were able to raise for money. He wanted it to be a bigger thing, but
did he say anything about what Barbara Hill was like to work with? Or did anybody ask?
I don't remember offhand what he said about Barbara Hill. They didn't say much. They said Alan Hale was a lot of fun.
Oh,
they had him for I think 2 days or
something. You can tell, because he barely leaves that office.
And I think they had him for only a few days to shoot, if I remember. It's been a while. It was October, and my Swiss
every
cheese
time
brain.
He's about to leave that office, his phone rings, and he has to go back to the desk.
What's great, though, is Alan Hale. Here's a guy who, is in a very predominant show. He was... And he's having fun. You can tell he's having fun in this role. This guy's like legit. He could have easily just cashed it in, but he's like little buddy, and he's like I want this guy to be the sheriff of my town.
I mean, his whole character is cracking like dad jokes that only he finds funny, because he's the only one laughing at every joke he tells. And it's kind of endearing in a way.
It is.
I think that's just who Alan Hale Jr. was.
Right.
It feels like he was just like, hey, Bill, do you mind if I play around a little bit with the script? They got it's hard to say they got more of their money's worth from Barbara Hale, because she's fine for what she's doing, but she's not doing much. It's like walk around looking confused. And at one point, towards the climax of the movie, you get Barbara Hale and the other scientist walking through the prairie, and this is clearly the prairie where the spider's coming from. The spider is. She hears the what's the character's name that starts shooting at him because he comes up on the house? I don't remember.
That was the boyfriend.
Yeah, the boyfriend's shooting at it. They somehow hear the boyfriend shooting at it, but they don't see this gigantic spider that's attacking the house. So they're like, oh, there's gunshots. We better run. But then they run over the hill, but then that's when they encounter the spider. And I'm like, so wait a minute, were you running towards the gunshots then? Like, this doesn't make sense.
I think they were trying to run towards the gunshots. Yeah.
Well, but they're saying they need to run away from them.
Yeah, that's true. They did say they ran away from them and they ran towards them.
Yeah,
and
they
then
ran towards the gunshots.
And then we meet the giant spider, which the shot definitely is an ode to them. Mm-hmm. The hill shot with the spider coming over it. I watched that and I go, oh, that's them. That right
also
there is
Godzilla, because Godzilla's first appearance in the original movie was over
a hill. Yeah, so they do that shot. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's
tarantula. We'll see that next week with the tarantula coming over the hill. So there's a lot of movies that did that. And I think Bill Rebane obviously loves those movies.
Oh yeah, no, I mean you could find all the monster films and such that Bill loved. I mean, whether it is the large group of kids at the Little League game running from the spider, or the urban scene, or the scene where you have the redneck house getting demolished by the mega spider.
That's right out of Earth versus the Spider right there. I just watched that the other night as we were showing it on the last drive-in. So
yeah, I mean, there's lots of nods and odes.
The only thing this thing needed was 35-year-old teenagers.
Yes, we needed we needed like a Charlton Heston, like, I'm a teenager, I'm senior in high school.
Somebody to show up who's obviously like almost 40, and is a student at the local high school. And references, oh, my mommy won't let me go out this weekend. Because I laughed so hard at that on Earth versus the Spider, because we had a 35-year-old actor playing a college student, and like, why don't you rehearse at home? Well, it's kind of late, and mommy doesn't want us to stay out that late. And I looked, I'm like, this actor's 35 at the time of filming. What are you talking about? If it was missing things like that, like that would have been a nice little funny nod. If I ever do this kind of movie, I'm gonna have to put in that kind of nod. Get like an actor who's like obviously like 40 or 50, and have him play a teenager.
And like I said, for me, the fact that it was shot in Wisconsin, the script is in Wisconsin. They don't try to act like they're in another town. They're in Wisconsin. They reference not only Oshkosh but Madison, where they get the device that will help close the rift that was caused by the meteor.
Oh, you paid attention to the plot.
Well, yeah. Of course I did. There's a device. I forgot the name of the device, but they had one in Madison, Wisconsin, they said. And so NASA calls it up so they could bring the device. It's like a bomb to close the rift that was opened by the meteor. And if they closed that, all the spiders would die, because they have a connection to the other dimension or whatever that they were coming through. And that's
sure.
And that's the explanation. I don't know.
Well, that doesn't work. They shoot them with road flares, and that seems to do it.
Well, apparently he wanted a really big fire with the spider at the end, but they like put a bunch of black powder and such on it, and they were going to shoot it, and it was going to do, and then nothing happened. So they turned off the cameras, and right after they turned off the cameras, it exploded in a huge fireball.
Perfect.
I mean,
the fact that they missed it is so on point for this movie.
And he's so pissed that he couldn't get that shot, But yeah, it's just so endearing, this film. Yeah, it's schlocky. You look at it, it's cheesy. This was released in theaters, though. Like I said, it was one of the top 50 grossing films of 1975. So even though we look back at it and people, make fun, it got the MST3K treatment, which has kind of brought it back into the zeitgeist, much like Manos, Hands of Fate did, because of early days of MST3K. So that's where a lot of people.
I saw it. I saw Riff Tracks live of it.
Yeah, they did a live.
Yeah, that was like in 2018 or 2019. They riffed it live in theaters.
And the thing with the MST3K guys, and even the Riff Track guy, I mean, because they're pretty much the same.
Mostly the same guys.
And it's something that I think, and pardon my off the lawn moment, maybe I'm not in touch. Maybe I read it wrong, but even with how they make fun of the films, especially those earlier shows, you can tell they legitimately kind of enjoy watching these bad films. So yeah, they're poking fun, they're being sarcastic, they're making jokes, but at the end of the day, if you look at it, they're not being mean-spirited with these films. They're finding entertainment in them. Whereas there's a whole group of people, and I've seen some video clips in that, especially when it's involving The Room, where it's just mean. It feels mean-spirited that they're making fun of the film.
Well, I mean, it's also like I've seen a lot of these movies lately, like, and they're the stuff that you and I both go to Dollar Tree and like look to try to find hidden gems. But I found a couple recently. And I don't remember the titles of them for shit, but I would watch them and it'd be like, oh, okay, this is going to be a parody of all these genres. And then I put it on and I'm like, you've never actually seen any of those movies that you're making fun of. You're just making fun of tropes that you've heard of.
Right.
Because when somebody does it out of love, you could see that. It comes across. When somebody's doing a parody of stuff that they cynically think they can make fun of and get away with, you could tell that too.
Right.
I think it was Voodoo Apocalypse was the name of it. And
I've got Voodoo Apocalypse. Yeah.
It was one of those movies. I was watching it because Sean and I both went to Dollar Tree. We both found a copy of it, and we both bought a copy of it because, oh my God, this sounds like it's going to be a gem. And one night we throw it on, and I'm like, it's supposed to be like a parody of like Starsky and Hutch type movies and Italian cop movies and this and this and this. And I'm like, they've never seen a single one of those movies. And at least with the MST3K guys, it does come from a place of, I love the cheesiness of it.
Right. They find something that actually endeared them and they fully recognize it. I mean, my buddy and I, we do that with Star Wars. We grew up with Star Wars. It's in our DNA. We're Gen X, literally first film I ever saw in the theater. But him and I will sit down when we watch it occasionally and we'll riff tracks the hell out of Star Wars. We love it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, we fully recognize every single one of its flaws. And that's kind of like with the giant spider invasion. I recognize all of the shortcomings, but when I watch it, I can't help but smile. One, because of the Wisconsin guy in me. And with the Wisconsin connections, it's just so much fun hearing a movie reference Oshkosh and Madison, and they show a map of Wisconsin, and you look at the landscape and you go, I know where that area is.
How far is this from you, Gleason?
Gleason's probably, I think it's like yes, I'm going to measure in Midwest miles. I think it's about an hour away. That's where they got the spider, I believe it is, or had the spider on display.
Well, that might be where they filmed Blood Harvest. I think that one was Gleason.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to Celeste about that, and I was like, oh yeah, or Shanta Celeste. We're like, oh, we should go visit this small little town where they shot this Wisconsin slasher movie. She joined us tonight too.
Yeah, Gleason is about an hour away. It's because it's about a half hour to Wausau. It's a little, about a half hour north of that. So.
Like my reference point would be like Milwaukee and like that area.
So it'd be like a 3-hour drive from Milwaukee. If you go to Madison, Wisconsin, and just head north for about 2 hours, you'll come across Gleason. Yeah.
And that seems to be like where Rebane made a lot of these movies.
Yeah, in that area up there, there's a lot of farmland. There's a lot of smaller towns in that. And so it makes sense that's where he would shoot it, and getting people to be in a movie wasn't that difficult because he'd say, hey, you want to be in a movie?
You want to be in a movie with the Skipper and Della Street? Yeah.
You're going to get chased by a giant spider. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, fuck. How do I not mention it? I was in La Valantula, and that was one of the most fun experiences of my life. Spike Mendez handing me a gun and going, okay, there's going to be a bunch of fire-breathing spiders coming at you from over here. Ah! It's fun.
It's fun.
Giant, these fucking monster movies are so much fun to make.
Oh, you can tell they are, and especially here because it's all practical. So it's not like you have to tell the people to imagine something. Here's a fucking big spider. Yes, it's a VW bug with black fur on it and mechanical legs on it, but it looks like a spider enough that you have a reference to run from.
I was eating dinner while watching this movie, and I almost choked when I saw this. When I saw the kids sitting on all the little kids sitting on the bleachers, and the giant spider just kind of coming around, and you can tell it's a car, and the kids just running from it,
having a blast running from it too. I mean, there's so many interesting things. I mean, one of the conversations they had was Eve said, "I'm sorry I missed the sermon. What was it about?" Dan, sin. Eve, what did the minister say about it? Dan, he was against it.
Well, again, because he didn't actually go to the to the meeting. He went to hook up with I don't remember the characters. I don't remember any character's name in this. It's except Terry and Cousin Bill, because how do you forget Cousin Bill?
You can't. How do you forget Cousin Bill? May he rest in peace. He ran into a
probably pieces at this. Pieces.
He drove.
That was a pretty big explosion.
It was a pretty big explosion. And they blew up a building. I mean, there's some pyro effects in here that they do, you know. I mean, there's that's what I was saying earlier. I enjoy this because there's actual effort that went into it. To me, somebody making an effort to make a movie and falling flat on their face is going to be more entertaining to me than, Warner Brothers or Universal or Disney having everything behind them swinging for the fences and hitting, getting to first base. This is more impressive to me. It is. And again, what makes a so bad movie it's good is a movie is the earnestness.
Earnestness is really it. That's really all it is.
If a person's intentionally trying to make a bad film, you can tell. They're intentionally trying to make a bad film. But if you get films like this that people are legitimately putting all effort they can into make a movie out of what resources they have to the best of their ability, their true spirit in there, you can tell. You can tell the difference.
Here's the thing about trying to intentionally make a bad movie. You have to be such a great filmmaker. Mm-hmm. That you probably wouldn't be making a movie that's intentionally bad to begin with. Right. Because you need like a Martin Scorsese level of talent to be able to put together everything that went wrong in that movie and recreate it perfectly. It's that, you need to be somebody of like that level of a Scorsese, a Tarantino, or someone like that, because what I find with a lot of these movies that are intentionally bad is they're too broad. Mm-hmm. Even when you look at James Gwen, Birdemic is one of those like, holy shit, this is an amazingly bad movie.
Oh my God,
Birdemic. And he's been chasing that now for 20 years and trying to make an intentionally bad movie, and it never worked. Tommy Wiseau, The Room is great because he was trying to earnestly make a real movie that he thought was going to win an Oscar. But now he goes around saying, oh, it's a black comedy. Everything was intentional. Then why did none of your intentionally bad movies ever manage to fucking be this good?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the Birdemic. The sequels didn't.
James Gwen, right there.
James Gwen, his sequels, and he literally, if you watch the third Birdemic film,
I haven't seen the third one yet.
It's literally almost a remake of his first film in many ways, the way it's handled. But I remember watching, the first Birdemic, and oh my God, the animated GIFs used for birds. And the fact that your lead actor in Birdemic, in the first minute of the film, I don't know how you badly walk act.
Yeah, the guy can't seem to speak or walk. How is he our leading man? He mumbles through the movie, and that's what makes. How does he land that super hot girl when he can't speak or walk?
He can't act walk. You watch the first minute after the almost 5 minutes of credits roll. He gets out of his car and he's walking to a cafe, and I just remember watching it going, how do you bad act walk?
How do you not know how to walk?
But you're right. And I remember
do that intentionally.
And I remember, Gwen playing it off like, oh yeah, no, I made that intentionally bad. Yeah, it's a parody of it. And we're like, no,
you didn't.
No, you didn't. At least Bill Rebane in the interview is quite earnest and quite aware of the films he's made. He that's the impression I got from him, is that he very much is aware of what he's made. At the same time, he's still very proud of the work that he was able to do with what he had. And I love that. I love the fact that he recognizes, yes, it has these flaws. But on the other hand, he's like, but look at what we did with what we had.
That's what separates that generation. The Bill Rebanes, the Fred Olen Rays, the David Dakotas, those guys, is they just gave it their all, and the movie was what it was.
Right.
Nowadays, we get people who are trying to parody movies I feel like they've never seen, and it ends up coming out to be such a clusterfuck, and it just feels so disingenuous.
Yeah, it does. And I tried explaining that to someone once. I was like, these films, especially some of the classic cult films, I'm like, the directors, when you talk to them, they're very much aware of what they made. They're very proud, because anyone will tell you getting any movie made, much less distributed, much less making any type of money, is an effort, a Herculean effort, especially nowadays. But even back then, it was tough to do. So they're still proud of the work, even with its flaws, but they are not blind to the limitations they had and the limitations of the film.
Christopher Kai House, when God, I don't know, it's unfortunate that was the year that we had to go all online because of COVID. I remember wanting to say something when we were at the film festival. I did want to say something to the young filmmakers, that I'm like, even if you've written a screenplay, if you've done anything, you've done more than 99% of the people who all say they want to make a movie.
Right.
Because everybody in the world, are you fucking kidding me? Anybody would make a movie if they could.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody. If you can manage to do anything on any level, especially when you're on a level where you don't have the funds, you don't have, you don't have a lot of crew, just to get that done. And that was going to be part of what I was going to say at the festival, is just the fact that you got anything made.
Mm-hmm.
You should congratulate yourself for it, because you've actually done it. Everybody talks about it. Not a lot of people do it.
Right. And here you have Rebane making this cheesy, schlocky, smaller budget creature feature that we're still talking about today. And let me tell you, when I went to that 50th anniversary showing at the Waiawega Opera House, where I got my Blu-ray and my signed ticket stub and all that, it was a packed house. They filled the seats in the opera house. There were tons
of 50-year-old movie.
Yeah, there for a 50-year-old movie, there's tons
for a 50-year-old no budget movie, because this isn't Jaws.
No,
this isn't a hugely popular movie 50 years later.
Right, and it's doing a tour around Wisconsin, and they are filling theaters of people coming, to young and old. There were all ages there watching this. And when we went, Craig Knitt and Dan Davies put together, because they know Rebane and they've worked with him and such, they put together this whole thing. It wasn't just seeing the film. There was like this burlesque dance routine involving spider, where one of them was just dressed as a big spider. And
you remember which burlesque troupe it was? I know a couple of them.
I don't remember offhand.
Kitty Cadaver's thing, or
I forgot who it was. Who it was that put it?
Oh, was it this year?
Yeah. No, it was just last year. It was in October of last year.
All right, then I know one active burlesque troupe then.
I don't know if they were fully burlesque or they might have just been a dance troupe, but they did this thing where two of the female dancers had scimitars, and then one turned into a spider, and she actually came out into this like spider puppet outfit. And it was amazing. But I'm sitting here. My wife came with me to see the film, and she doesn't normally watch stuff like this, and she had a fun night. She had fun watching this, and then listening to Bill Rebane tell his stories, about how his wife also made the costuming and, that did the hairs for the spider.
Well, the thing that would probably intrigue your wife is, like, these guys aren't out there trying to make, cheesy slasher movies. Like when she met Lloyd Kaufman.
Yeah.
When they showed Shakespeare Shitstorm a couple years ago, she was, she was enraptured by Lloyd because Lloyd is actually like a big Shakespeare buff, and he legitimately wants to branch the movies he makes for his company with William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I think that shines through with him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think with Bill Rebane, it's the same. I mean, Bill Rebane also, he had a failed run for governor too, I think, if I recall.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that was, but
I forgot offhand which one that was, but Bill Rebane also, I mean, just he's made the films he wanted to make to the best of his ability with the resources he had. And we end up getting stuff like this, like you said, we end up getting Blood Harvest. We end up getting schlocky films that are endearing.
Mister's Revenge,
Invasion from Inner
Earth, The Demons of Ludlow, which at points can be so boring, but at the same time it's so beautifully shot. It's weird.
Monster A Go-Go, a great title.
That's the one that Joe Dante said would be more entertaining to watch blank film. And that was the one he made with Herschel Gordon Lewis.
So, you look at these films and that, and I hope tonight especially you gather that while we pointed out the flaws, it was a fun watch. This is 78 minutes, and for me, it's a fun watch. Like I said, I got it on Blu-ray. I've watched it a number of times. What's great is the Blu-ray actually has the Super 8 re-edited version, which is in HD, which is about a half hour long.
Is that because it was before VHS, so they would sell it like Castle Films would do the abridged Universal Monster movies?
Yeah. So
I didn't know those existed for the Giant Spider Invasion.
So it's got an abridged, but this Blu-ray alone has a commentary, has the Super 8 version re-edited in HD, plus it's got the original Super 8 version. It's got the theatrical trailers. It comes with also archival interviews with the actors and Bill Rebane. It's got the Mystery Science Theater introduction, introducing Bill Rebane. See that right there? Kevin Murphy and Mike Nielsen of Mystery Science Theater introduced Bill Rebane. It tells you right there, those guys.
I thought you were going to tell me the MST3K episode was on there, and then the Rift Tracks was on there. That'd be great. Who put that out?
It's got he did. This is VCL Entertainment,
VCI?
or VCI Entertainment.
Okay, VCI Entertainment. All right.
And
they usually do some pretty decent work. I like their stuff.
And it's got archival newsreel of Bill Rebane on the set of Rana. But what's even cooler is inside this Blu-ray, it comes with a little comic of Invasion, the Giant Spider Invasion.
Oh, you're really selling me on this Blu-ray.
One more, the Giant Spider Invasion, the musical soundtrack.
There's a musical?
There is apparently a musical.
Or at least the musical was written and the music was scored, but it was never actually made.
And the Blu-ray also has a inside sleeve that's got liner notes. So the sleeve, if you take it out, it's got liner notes in it as well.
In 2024,
and
nobody
this
does liner notes anymore.
Yeah, it's well, this is from 2015. This
okay.
Blu-ray.
Even then, no one was doing liner notes anymore.
Right. But I mean, it's a Blu-ray. It looks great.
Oh, the Riff Tracks Live didn't come out until 2018 or 2019, so that right. Would be on there then.
Right. So I mean, it looks great. It's got all the extras in it. It's a fun watch. I mean, yes, there's parts that stretch to where you could tell they are padding it a bit. But I mean, the film, in all honesty, still moves, even if you could tell they're padding for as far as the plot. You've got a lot of scenes.
The beginning feels like there's a lot of padding, but once the giant spiders start showing up, this movie's just moving quick.
It's just moves. You got to pay attention because you're like, if you want to know everything that's going to happen, they say some of it in dialogue because they weren't able to shoot it. So they. But yeah, the giant spider invasion, folks, I love it not just because it's from Wisconsin, which, I'm always a big supporter of Wisconsin filmmaking, but it is a true, so bad it's good film.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. It's a fun movie.
Right. Which I think sometimes gets lost, that there can be a difference. I mean, I will, to the day I die, stand up for Maximum Overdrive. Will I fully admit that Maximum Overdrive is a good movie? No, it's a cheesy, campy movie that you just don't think too hard about. But on the other hand, I've watched it many, many times. In fact, 31 Days of Horror in October, I watched it every day for 31 Days of Horror.
You watched the same movie every day for 31 days?
Maximum Overdrive. I watched the same movie for 31, yes.
Why? Why one movie though?
Just because I love Maximum Overdrive. Well, I watched others as well, but I would watch that 31. I watched that 31 days.
31 times.
That's right, and I loved it every single time. But I'm broken like that. What can I say? But
I got my rituals every year around Halloween time. I watch Halloween 1, Halloween 3, and there's. Every year around my birthday, which is coming up in a couple weeks, I go through the Universal Frankenstein movies and the Wolfman because I love those movies,
Exactly. But yeah, I think you summed it up nicely. There's films that are fun to watch that may not be great, but they're still fun because at the end of the day, you're looking to be entertained. Are you not entertained?
Exactly.
And the giant spider invasion, I'm entertained. So any final thought with this, Joe, or are you good?
No, I mean, we've already talked about it for over an hour. I don't think there's anything else we can say about it.
So,
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I find out that it is playing in a theater with a bunch of people, I will go see this movie because I do want to see how people react to it.
Oh, yeah. When we watched it at the Wyoega Theater, people were laughing. People were joking. They were laughing at certain lines. They were clapping. It was a fun time. People were having fun watching this film, and then when Bill Robain got up there, people listened. There was respect. There wasn't like heckling or anything. People didn't ask dumb questions. There was legit inquiries to the making of the film. And he had some fascinating stories to tell. And that's what's always great about these indie films. Well, as you know firsthand, these indie films, especially the older ones, the stories behind the making of are almost more fascinating than the movies themselves.
I mean, even my own films that I've worked on, there's stuff I could tell you behind the scenes on some of those that are just like, holy shit.
Well, that was like when I interviewed, and it was one of my early interviews, and I feel bad. If I could go back in time, I would slap myself because I got a chance to interview Fred Olin Ray about Bad Girls from Mars. And we talked about it, and he threw me off because the first question was, why do you want to know about Bad Girls from Mars? which is a question I never expected.
And if you ever watch his DVDs and Blu-rays where he has the introduction, the Night Owl Theater introduction, where it'll be like, "Oh, hi, I'm Fred Olen Ray. I'm just walking in my door. Oh, there's two hot chicks in bikinis wrestling in mud on my living room. How did that happen?" This is exactly his persona, so it shouldn't shock you, because he'll be like, "Oh yeah, oh, this piece of shit movie I made. Why'd you buy this?"
But,
it's really shaming me for owning his movie.
But when I talked to him and the interviews on the YouTube channel, check it out, or on the podcast, the Spoiler Room podcast channel, I ended up cutting the interview short because just when he was starting to warm up, and I didn't realize it, of course, till I'm done, because I hadn't interviewed many people before that, and then I thought back on it, like I'm like, oh shit, because he was just warming up. He's like, yeah, that shot I did in this movie. Yeah, that was an exact same shot I did in this movie. He's like verbatim. He's like,
okay, well, he's made 200 plus movies, I think. Right. So yeah, he's gonna repeat himself.
But he was telling me about how they shot some of the street scenes, like shooting some of them literally on the way to the airport to pick one actress up. They shot this other scene in the car, and how, oh yeah, no, we didn't have permits. He's like,
you gotta do it sometimes, man. We made, when we made The Perfect Candidate with Joe Estevez and Robert Zadar, there's so many stories I could tell you from those 2 days. No, one day that we shot it, and the day before we picked up Robert Zadar, I probably have a million stories I could tell you from that.
And that's why I love movies like this. So, folks, if you get a chance to check out The Giant Spider Invasion, especially if it's showing at a theater with a group, see it with a group of people. Especially because you're going to probably have the majority of the audience who legitimately enjoy this film. No one's under the impression that this is some kind of major Hollywood level type of movie.
There was nobody pushing for this thing to get an Oscar,
But at the same time, it's an entertaining time. You can sit down with a group of people and popcorn and have fun and enjoy and laugh at it, because why? The filmmakers will tell you it's okay to laugh at this scene. We know what we did in this movie. So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Joe, you got anything you can chill?
Not at the moment. So I'll just go back to you. I'll be here next week.
Hey, yes, next
watch
week.
Me here again next week.
Next week, we will be doing Tarantula as part of our All Legs month here in June. Now, this is an Over the Hill episode, but we're not spinning the wheel of random this time. And the reason we're not is because next month is my actual birthday month, when I actually turn 50. And there's a legitimate connection between me and the probably considered the very first uber blockbuster film to be released, Jaws, which was released in July. So next month is Jaws month, okay? We're covering Jaws 1, 2, 3, and 4 next month. In that order, most likely, though I've usually been doing the Over the Hill episodes the second week in the month. We're just going to do them in order next month, because it's got a connection, which I will share. If you've got the VIP or the our Patreon, you can listen to one of the other episodes, the conversation before the conversation. You'll probably know the story, but I will share the story of why Jaws is a personal connection to me, why I chose not to spin the wheel of random, and why we're covering it next month. Not only because it's turning 50, like my old self. So there you have it, folks. That's what we've got up and coming. Please check out all the reviews that have dropped here. Check out Joe's Randazzo's IMDb page and watch any of the movies he's had a part in. They're all fun.
Or watch The Last Drive-In on Shudder. I work on that.
There you go. Watch the
Bret Hart. I have a screen credit with Bret Hart now because he was on the last episode. So I'm like giddy with that.
How cool is that? I am now 2 degrees away from Bret Hart. That's awesome. Ian Simmons, you were with us in spirit today. He will be back next week for Tarantula as well. We may have a Shanta joining us as well from
apparently she's looking forward to it because she loves Tarantula. I love Tarantula. As soon as I showed her the movie, she's like, oh my god, I gotta do Tarantula.
So we're gonna have a blast, so stay tuned for that, folks. And yeah, until next time, we'll just say good night, everyone.